Incels, they continue to be a problem in our society, even if the media has decided to move on and report on something else. I think much of the mainstream academia and mainstream opinion doesn't quite explain the phenomenon. So what I would like to do is offer an alternative opinion. Hi, I'm Jason Unruhe. If you're interested in news, politics, and analysis from a Marxist perspective, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell to get all the notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Incel violence continues to be a problem even if it has subsided since the mid to late 2010s. Even if the violence perpetrated by them has subsided to a significant degree, the social phenomenon is still there and can continue to cause damage to society. In my research on it, I have found mostly psychological investigations of the individual shooters coalesced into a broader social explanation. Those explanations, I think, are inadequate. In my research, I was very shocked to find that the incel movement, or even the term incel, actually originated between 1993 and 1997. Believe it or not, the term was actually coined by a woman who was only known by the name Alana. Now, while she was in college, she described herself as an incel, and she created a website specifically to connect with other people who would fit that definition. Her goal, as well-meaning as it was to help connect men and women who both identified as incels. Unfortunately, inadvertently, she ended up creating the phenomenon that we now know today as incels. Incel is a combination of the two words involuntary celibate. Incel is a title used to describe an individual, be they male or female, that has been without a romantic and or sexual partner for a significant amount of time or never having had one. The majority of incels are men, while a small contingent are women, referred to as femcels. Much of the focus has rightly been on the male incels, as they have been more numerous and have a proclivity for violence. As of 2020, the number killed in Canada and the United States by incel-based violence was 50. Across the globe, young men who experience extreme loneliness have gathered in online spaces to discuss their grievances with society over their situation. In many instances, when they speak to each other the illicit images of violence against women, including rape fantasies and threats, there generally is a belief in some kind of a malevolent force working upon society to cause harm to men. That force can take several forms in their eyes. Primarily, the force is accused of being feminism. This belief in a feminist conspiracy shares similarities with anti-Semitic ones. While the vast majority of incels have not committed any acts of violence, notoriously some of them have. Now, some interesting data has been gathered by the Violence Project related to this very situation. 20% of all mass shootings in the past 50 years occurred in just the last 5 years, with more than half of the shootings occurring since 2000 and 33% since 2010. The expression of desired violence is common. When speaking to each other in these forums, they make graphic depictions of violence, including rape towards women. Merriam-Linder claims, hateful online communities allow low-status men to engage in virtual or simulated coalitional bargaining with a sympathetic audience of like-minded others, providing private but futile satisfaction. Many of them use the image or threat of a mass shooting as a way of claiming dominance over a society that they allege has wronged them. These pseudo-threats and descriptions of revenge fantasies allow them to feel some power. It is my theory that in doing so, it allows them to relieve that hostility to an extent. The mere ability to express such extreme acts as a kind of pressure valve. This psychological steam release allows them some measure of relief. I claim it is akin to talking about your emotions and frustrations as a way of coping with them. By venting their frustrations to others in what they consider a safe environment, it allows them to emotionally connect via a shared injustice. Validation is a key aspect of their communications. Loneliness is an epidemic in the US. The isolation that men feel is increasing and has always been higher than that of what women experience. Nama Cates, an investigative journalist, explored incels and loneliness. She found the following. Overwhelmingly, a lot of them are just lonely in general. A lot of them have trouble with just platonic friendships too. And they don't feel they have like a strong social group. And just with other aspects of purpose in life, a lot of them just aren't happy. She notes that the manifesto Elliot Rodger left behind before his mass shooting, it mentioned the word lonely 49 times, loneliness 30 times, and alone 52 times. It is my claim that there is no incel if there is no loneliness. There is no loneliness if there is no alienation. Alienation occurs when an individual loses a connection to society. A person will experience that they have separated from the group, no longer a part of it. It can primarily manifest in emotions of loneliness, distance from loved ones, feeling helpless, or that life itself has no value or meaning. It can also manifest as seeing the lives of other people as having no value, manifesting in a lack of empathy. Social society itself will appear as alien to the individual. This loss of connection can manifest as aggression and resentment towards society itself. This is the theory that I hold that is the cause of loneliness. This loneliness is what causes inceldom. As this loneliness festers, it creates an anger towards society that they feel has rejected them. The anger towards this perceived rejection morphs into anger. Anger and resentment together are a dangerous combination on a social level. Their loneliness stems from rejection by the opposite sex, which means they are going to blame the opposite sex as the source of their negative feelings, their alienation. As a result, they are going to make the opposite sex the target of their hostility, resentment, and possibly violent actions carried out in revenge for their situation. With women as the source of rejection, and thus the target of anger and resentment, they become the social group to blame. They see their rejection in the rejection of other men in the same experience. This goes from being an isolated act, which may have personal origins, to a social effort against all men. In this revelation, we can see the birth of the feminist conspiracy, a collective effort of women. Feminism can easily be seen as a part of a collective effort against men. This, combined with the loss of male supremacy, can easily be mistaken by an individual looking for a conspiracy/cause for their situation. This inability of the incel to draw a scientific conclusion of their situation is also directly related to meaninglessness. It's defined by Seaman as the individual's sense of understanding events in which he is engaged. This is the social detachment that hinders rational thought from being able to grasp the proper thinking process. The alienation, the loneliness itself, hinders the rational thinking of an incel, causing him to look for easy answers, along with its proclivity in human nature to begin with. Even the violence that they carry out against women can be traced back to alienation. I think that this is a major symptom of the powerlessness that they feel. The incel cannot make women attracted to them. Nothing they do can significantly alter this in any way. While a small minority do escape and become so-called alpha males, the vast majority do not. The inability to effect any change whatsoever, the frustration of not being able to, is what pushes the incel individual into more extreme behavior. Kayla Fishman says, a person suffers from alienation in the form of powerlessness when she is conscious of the gap between what she would like to do and what she feels capable of doing. The violence they carry out isn't just an act of revenge, but also an attempt to regain power they feel they've lost. They are trying to prove their potency, their mattering, their ability to wield power by inflicting harm. This impression of potency in an ultimate sense, make them more respected and hence sexually successful, according to Linder. By carrying out this type of violence against women, they view themselves as taking back what they perceive as having been stolen from them by the feminist conspiracy. I think it is wholly insufficient to simply blame misogyny or mental illness as the sole causes of incels and incel violence. I think if that were the case, then their violence would be far more common than we actually do see. So I think that this is an oversimplification that doesn't encapsulate all of the aspects which would go into creating an incel and then what it would be necessary to drive one to commit acts of violence. Alienation as a basis, as a cause, which can then be influenced by the prevailing misogyny and the prevailing mental illness in American society, would be enough combined to drive an individual to such extreme actions. If this kind of alienation in general is not dealt with, then there will be an increasing amount of violence in the future. Our current capitalist imperialist society is built essentially on a foundation of alienation. If it is not dealt with, it will continue to degrade further, and that will, of course, manifest itself in great violence. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it was educational to you to some degree. I hope it shed some light on the incel phenomenon and gave a better explanation than what is generally available to the public. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, if you would like to see more content like this, please consider going to my Patreon and making a monthly donation. Even a contribution as small as $1 a month can really help out. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.